Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea here. So today we are going to be doing a review of the Pat McGrath Mothership Sublime Bronze Temptation palette, and we are going to be doing a tutorial on it and swatches as well. So before we get into the video, I'd love for you to go ahead and subscribe down to my channel below and give this video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. Now, let's get right into the video. Like I said, we are going to be reviewing the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Sublime Bronze Temptation palette. Whew, mouthful. And this is the palette right here. So we've got these 6 beautiful eyeshadows. And this is actually my first Pat McGrath's eyeshadow palette. And I want the larger palettes, but of course those are very expensive. And so before spending my money on that, I thought it would be a good idea to try out her 6-pan eyeshadow palettes to see if I like the formula and to see if it would be worth my money to pay for the big mama ship ones. So let's start off with the formulation of the palette. So on Sephora.com, it says, succumb to the seduction of 6 illicit iconoclastic shades ranging from gloriously guilty golds to wondrously warm matte neutrals, sparked by the tantalizing temptation of a single shimmering bronzed rose. Gild, glamorize, and glorify your eyes with the erotic elegance of arousingly smooth formulations that glide on effortlessly, uninhibitedly exhibiting incendiary shine and licentious luxury. Really, Pat? Okay. Slay with style and splendor, slay in style and splendor in sublime textures and finishes, mesmerizing all whom encounter from dusk to dawn and beyond. Okay, Pat McGrath, she does the most with her descriptions of her palettes. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad. I'll go ahead and do swatches as I'm reading off the description of each eyeshadow. So we're going to first start off with Celestial. And Celestial is going to be this shade here. And Pat McGrath describes this as a luminous champagne, which we see that color there. Then we go on to Burning Desire, and this is a matte shade. She calls it a matte terracotta. And this shade is very, very close to my skin color, which is why we hardly can see it. This is described as a sparkling emerald green. So I'm going to do that here. And there's the color there. So pretty. Then we move on to Dark Paradise. This is a Noir tinged brick red. So pretty. And then to Corruption. This shade is so gorgeous because it looks like a burgundy in the pan, but it's a bronze burgundy. And if you shift it, I'm hoping my camera can pick up on it. In one sense, it looks burgundy, and then if you shift it a little bit, it's got this gold reflection to it. You can't see it, it's not picking up on camera, but looking at it, if I look at the palette here and then I like tilt it up, I can see, you can almost see it a little bit there, the gold shift in it. So pretty. And lastly, my favorite shade is called Provocatrix, and this is described as a golden bronze duochrome. And so it looks golden, but then it's got this shift of green to it, like this greenish, I like to describe it like a rose gold, but it's got this greenish shift to it, which I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but it is gorgeous nonetheless. So these are the 6 shades that we have here, and I love this palette. I thoroughly enjoyed this palette. So number one, I love that this palette comes with 2 matte shades so that you really can do a full eye look with this one palette. And that's always important to me because if I want to use an eyeshadow palette, I want to just use that palette, especially if I'm trying to see how versatile the palette is, and it makes it easier for travel. For instance, if I'm going out of town and I'm like, oh, I want to take this one, I don't have to worry about saying, oh, well, I need a transition shade and all of that stuff. So I love that there are really 2 actual matte shades in the palette that you can work with, and the shimmers are just I mean, you can look at the swatches here. They are just amazing. The shift to them, the formulation of them. So these shimmers here, so we've got Provocatrix, Corruption, and then we have Celestial. These are so smooth to the touch. Like, you almost can cause an indentation in the pan when you're like digging your finger in it. It's best to use these shimmers with your finger. And I even heard on Pat McGrath's website that it's best to use them with a wet finger, which I have tried, and it really does make the pigment come through even more. In the tutorial, you'll see me use my finger, but I didn't wet it because I don't know, I just didn't wet it. But you'll see me use my finger and a brush to apply the shimmer eyeshadows, and you'll see that with my finger I get more pigmentation from it. The mattes blend out so quickly and so smooth. I mean, this is a hands down wonderful eyeshadow palette. I have no complaints about it. I will say do your eyes first, because with the shimmers you will get fallout. These shimmers they don't have glitter chunks in them, but they do have a lot of shimmers. So I just tend to do my eyes first when I use this palette, because I don't want a whole bunch of fallout all over my foundation and potentially messing it up. So to me, that's not a big issue. It doesn't bother me at all, but I highly recommend this palette. And because of this palette, I am going to pick up the recent large Mothership palette, the one, I think it's called the Mothership Bronze palette. Everyone loves it, and this palette has gotten me so excited to try that one. Okay, so now let's get into the tutorial. So I started off with using the shade Burning Desire, and you can see me blending that all throughout my crease and into my transition. So this is what I'm using to transition my eyeshadow. And then I go in with the shade Paradise, which we see right here, and I'm just concentrating that on the outer edge of my eye, but I'm of course blending that directly into my crease, but just wanting to build out some depth in the outer area of my eye, and of course blending that all together. Then I went in with just some concealer. I used my Too Faced Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Warm Sand, and I used that to cut my crease. And then we're going to go into these beautiful shimmers. So I'm starting out with the shade Corruption right here. And you'll see me using my brush initially just to get the color onto my eye. And I did wet my brush with some Fix Plus. And then I went in with my finger to intensify the color and just pat it all throughout this outer area of my eye. So I took that color to about right here of my eye, and I'm just building up the color with my finger and my brush, going back and forth until I get the pigmentation that I want. And then I took the color, which is my favorite one, Provocatrix, and I used that to fill in the last inner corner of my eye right here. And I brought the shade up like on the outer edge of the crease to about right here, because I love that color. I have worn this color just with the shade Burning Sands and then Provocatrix all over the lid. So yummy. Okay, anywho, then I go, yep, so that's what I finished off the look with. So after I finished my eye look, I went in and finished off my makeup, and I'll link all of that when I link it. I'll put all of the items that I use on my face down in the description box below. And so then we'll see me coming back in to finish off my lower lash line. So I took the shades Burning Sand and Dark Paradise, and I used that to add color to my lower lash line. I took Burning Sands and just lined my lower lash line completely, and then I took the shade Dark Paradise and I just concentrated that on the outer edge of my eye. Then I went in with the shade Supernova, and I used that to line right down here, and it's so pretty because I honestly don't really like green on my eyelid, so I used it down here, and you can see that pop of color. It's really pigmented, beautiful. And then lastly, I took the shade Celestial, and I used that as my inner corner highlight. I'm sorry I don't have this to show you as I put it on, because I thought I was filming and I wasn't. So yeah, sorry about that. And so there's the eye look. And then I took, to finish off the eyes, I used the Pat McGrath's black coffee eyeliner to line my lower lash line and just to add a little bit of definition to my upper lash line, and then use some mascara and I'm done. So yeah, this was a very easy eyeshadow palette to use. Like I said, I've used this eyeshadow palette about 4 or 5 times now. Every look that I've gotten has been very easy to create in my opinion, but I feel like I get so much bang for my buck on the eyelid. So it doesn't take a lot of effort to create the looks, but when I'm done, I feel like the eye looks look really good. They're beautiful. And like I said, the pigmentation is there. The mattes blend easily. I highly recommend this palette. So that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this review. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye, guys.